Hello everyone, this is the BSE-Sofia Earnings Call for the third quarter of 2017. My name is Ivo Stankov and I shall briefly present to you a short market overview and the report of the exchange for the third quarter of 2017. Once you're familiar with our financial standing, I shall present to you the progress of our ongoing projects and our plans for the future. I want to remind you that there's a number on each slide. Feel free to ask questions during the presentation, mentioning the slide number they refer to. In the end, your questions shall be addressed and answered if possible. If not, we'll obtain the necessary information and try to answer each question by email. You may ask questions through the chat form. Next to the chat button, there are 3 dots for options. When you press that button, you will see the Ask a Question option. So, moving on to the presentation. The third quarter was a period which combined growth and decline for the markets organized by BSE-Sofia. Compared to the numbers at the end of 2016, the market cap grew by 14.6%, moving over the 10 billion BGN threshold at the end of the first quarter, and then over the 11 billion value at the end of June. The capitalization at the end of the third quarter remained over 11 billion. All the indices, except for Sofix, increased their value. The market turnover increased by 131% compared to the previous quarter and was higher than the total turnover of the first half of 2017. Thanks to the joint efforts of the members of the Capital Market Development Council and the rest of the stakeholders for promoting the market activity was high, and the growth in the turnover compared to the first and second quarter of 2000 showed the increasing interest in the capital markets. The market capitalization of BSE-Sofia reached 11.1 billion BGN at the end of the third quarter, compared to 11.2 billion BGN at the end of the first half of 2017, which is a decrease of 0.9%. The market capitalization of most segments decreased slightly, while the capitalization of the right segment of the BSE main market increased by over 5%. Overall, the equity capitalization fell by 1.3%, while the rates capitalization grew by 2.6%. The values of 3 of BSE-Sofia's indices increased during the third quarter, while 1 decreased. The movement of the values of all indices was unidirectional and their curves had similar shapes. Only the BG rate values curve differs due to the type of companies comprising the index. Despite the similar movement, BGTR30 grew by 4.4% or 23.79 points, followed by BG rate, which grew by 0.97% or 1.1 points, and BGBX increased by the negligible 0.09% or 0.12 points. Only Sofix decreased by 2.18% or 15.35 points. The turnover on the regulated market of financial instruments in the third quarter increased by 131% compared to the previous quarter and by 26% compared to the first year half. Compared to the numbers from the second quarter, the turnover in all main instrument groups increased, most significantly the equity turnover by 139% or 130 million less, followed by rates turnover, which increased by 24 million less or 162%. The overall number of issues listed on the markets organized by BSE-Sofia decreased by 8 in the third quarter. Particularly, the number of issues listed on the standard equity segment decreased by 1, the number of bond issues decreased by 2, and the number of equity instruments on the alternative base market decreased by 5. So, moving on to the financial standings of the BSE-Sofia. We shall now take a look at revenue. With regard to sale revenue of the exchange, there was an increase of 8.8% where compared to the corresponding period of 2016, mainly due to the increase in turnover of the exchange. Trading fees grew by 1%, information services fees increased by 50%. The other revenue items decreased insignificantly. It is notable that other operating revenue item decreased from 313,000 levs as of 30th of September 2016 to 20,000 levs at the end of the current period. This is due to the one-off effect of a sale of real estate by BSE-Sofia carried out in the third quarter of 2016 And that is why the effect of the rapid increase of trading fees revenue on the total revenue was not so big. The comparison between the structure of revenue in the third quarter of 2016 and third quarter of 2017 shows that the share of each item remains relatively stable over time, keeping in mind the notes on revenue from the previous slide on trading fees and other operating revenue. The total cost decreased by 2.47% where compared to the same period of 2016. Hired services expenses dropped by 75,000 levs, or 10% due to a drop in licensing fees by 62,000 BGN, a decrease of membership fees by 34,000 BGN, drop in taxes and charges by 13,000 BGN, and a decrease in office cost by 11,000 BGN, while consulting and other services grew by 56,000 BGN. Personnel cost grew by 3.81% or 29,000 levs, and the change in other cost items was insignificant. This is the cost structure. The comparison between the cost structure in 2016 and 2017 illustrates a stable structure, showing the said decrease in hired services and a slight increase in personnel cost. For the first time in several quarters in a row, BSE-Sofia has finance cost. At the end of the third quarter of 2017, the net financial result achieved by BSE-Sofia was positive to the amount of 123,000 BGN, which is mainly due to the increased operating revenue, influenced strongly by the skyrocketing trading fees, and decreasing cost, mainly due to the dropping hired services expenses. As at 30th of September 2016, the operating loss of BSE-Sofia was 219,000 levs, and in the current period it dropped to a negative value of 32,000 levs. The operating loss is mainly due to the low revenue. The total comprehensive income for the year changed from 21,000 levs as at the 30th of September 2016 to 162,000 levs at the end of the reported period. As at 30th of September 2017, the net result of BSE-Sofia is a profit of 0.019 BGN per share. Moving on to assets and liabilities. First of all, the asset structure. The total assets of the Bulgarian Stock Exchange Sofia at the end of the third quarter of 2017 were 53,000 BGN, or 0.5% higher than the value at the end of 2016. As you can see, there are no major changes in the company's assets. Current assets increased by 5.52%, or 157,000 levs, while the non-current assets decreased by 104,000 levs, or 1.33%. There was a decrease in the trade receivables item by 93,000 levs, while cash and cash equivalents grew by 206,000 levs. As at 30th of September 2017, the company had no term deposits with banks. Other receivables and prepaid expenses reflects the receivables on a session contract on a deposit with a bank placed under special supervision, which, as at the end of the reporting period, is shown as a short-term receivable. Regarding liabilities, the value of retained loss at the end of 2016 was 44,000 levs, while the value of retained earnings at the end of the third quarter of 2017 amounted to 104,000 BGN. According to a decision adopted at the general meeting of shareholders of BSE-Sofia, held on 7th of April, the net profit for 2016, amounting to 63,000 BGN, was distributed equally between reserve and dividend of the company, hence the increase of reserve. Current liabilities decreased by 13.5%. The decrease was due to a decrease in payables to suppliers and other creditors by 63%, or 188,000 BGN, and an increase in prepaid fees due to the prepaid information services fee paid in full according to the rules and regulations of the exchange in the first quarter, but deferred for the whole year. Tax payables shrunk by 55 54%, sorry, or 25,000 less. The shareholder structure remains stable over time. The majority shareholder is the Ministry of Finance, owning a share of a little over 50%. The number of shares held by other shareholder groups is almost unchanged compared to the previous quarters. There is a slight increase in the number of brokerage firms and banks holding shares of BSE-Sofia from 18% in the second quarter to 20.48% at the end of the third quarter, which we accept as a positive sign that the investors who follow the market and probably interpret all the market data available see our company as a good investment. Trading BSE-Sofia own shares was very active in the third quarter. Market capitalization increased from 19.74 million levs at the beginning to 31.86 million levs at the end of the third quarter. The average price for the quarter was 4.128 levs per share. The price at the end of the quarter increased by 1.841 BGM per share, or 62%, from 2.999 BGN closing price on 30th of June to 4.84 BGN per share on 30th of September. The minimum price per share was 2.97 levs and the maximum 5.60 levs per share. A total of 382,515 shares were transferred in 574 trades. The total turnover for the quarter was 1,578,880 levs, which in comparison to the numbers during the second quarter of 2017 marked an increase in turnover by 263%, volume increase by 160%, and an increase in the number of trades by 118%. Shares of the stock exchange were traded in 53 out of the 63 sessions during the reported period. And this is a quick summary of the data I just quoted regarding the trade in BSE's own shares. I shall now present to you the development of our ongoing projects and our future plans. First of all, regarding the BSE International Market. The regulated market rulebook and settlement links in April 2017 and July 2017 respectively. Received update recommendations of the Commission. They are awaiting the EU passport recognition. But the project shall on for MIFID. Because had a round of communication with them, but afterwards the communication ceased, which may impose additional delay on this project. Regarding the government bonds market, all the necessary agreements between BSE and the Ministry of Finance and between BSE and the National Bank were signed. The technical connectivity between BSE and BNB was tested, and on 17th and 18th of September, trade simulation with our members and the National Bank was run. The start of trading shall be on the 1st of November of 2017. The Central Depository applied for membership at the government bond CSD of the National Bank, and membership shall expectedly be granted in November 2017 upon successful conformity tests. At the moment, if one of our members wants to trade in government bonds, it needs an account with a bank, which is a member of the CSD of the National Bank. After the Central Depository becomes a member of the CSD of the National Bank, all BSE members shall be able to settle through the CDAD systems, and if a trade in government bonds is executed between two CDAD members, it could be closed in the Central Depository. CDAD is also running Target 2 participation tests with the Bulgarian National Bank, And upon joining Target 2, euro settlement shall be possible, because the government debt legislation requires government debt instruments issued in euro to be settled in euro. The C-Link update, 7 exchanges are connected to the platform, and we expect the Athens Stock Exchange, they are currently testing their connection. We expect them to join very soon. There are 27 inter-broker agreements signed. 8 originating brokers and 7 executing brokers are from Bulgaria. An MOU is to be signed with a leading international bank to facilitate the international settlement. Once it connects to all participating CSDs, direct international settlement shall be possible, but implementation of this step shall be postponed after the end of September 2017, so that the EU domiciled CSDs related to the project could focus on CSDR implementation measures. A post-trading integration project was recently launched by the EBRD, aiming to determine the best way to facilitate post-trading in the region. The selected consultants sent questionnaires to and received feedback from the exchanges and the CSDs in order to familiarize themselves with each country's post-trading specifics. A report was drafted based upon the analysis of the questionnaires, and the joint workshop was held in Bucharest in October to present the key findings. The next steps are to be detailed out in the consultant's report. In the other focus areas, first of all, the SME market. This project is currently on hold as we cannot take any further steps before the MTF rulebook is approved. There is one more thing that needs to be done afterwards. The requirements for the authorized advisors have to be detailed, and they have to be written down and made a part of the rulebook for the SME market. But this project shall probably be postponed for the next year. And regarding the IBEX acquisition, we have already agreed with the Bulgarian Energy Holding the price and other purchase conditions. A shareholder meeting of the Bulgarian Stock Exchange held on 26th of September approved the transaction, the acquisition, as well as the source of funding. We filed a notification with the anti-monopoly authorities in Bulgaria. There is no response so far. We responded to several rounds of questions of Directorate General for Competition, DG Comp, and we are awaiting their authorization of this transaction. The expected closure of the transaction is in December 2017, granted that all authorities that we have filed documents with or awaiting authorization give us a positive feedback. So this is it. Let me now take a look at the questions form, see if there are any questions. Right, there are no questions. Maybe we shall wait a little bit more. You can send us questions by email. We have our contacts on the website of the exchange, so if you need any further information regarding the reports of BSE-Sofia or regarding the information which was in this presentation, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you again for attending our earnings call for the third quarter of 2017, and have a great day, everyone.